Hello, everybody, and welcome to DM Writer's Room, a show where we demystify the DMing process by coming up with monsters, magic items, and dungeons live. We had been working for a time on The World, based on Spencer's brilliant invention of Swamp. We are taking a brief sojourn off to alternative shores. I have to turn the music up. We are taking a brief turn onto alternate shores, giving ourselves a little bit of a break from coming up with the deep lore, and returning instead to the original dungeon creation. Each of us has a concept, a prompt. We are going to pitch those prompts, and whichever prompt is left is the one that we are going to do. Usually we can pull off a vote. If we're lucky, we can sort of conglomerate our thoughts well enough and figure it out, but other times we've had to resort to the rolling of dice. So if you have no dice out, it might be a good idea to get them out. Kicking things off, I am prepared to say mine. Is anybody else ready? How do we want to do this?
I'm all set.
I'm ready. Let's do rollies.
Rollies to see who goes first. All right, everybody grab a d20. Let's get some rollies going.
I only have a D18.
Ugh, I'm last. I rolled a 3.
I got an 8.
I also got an 8. Michael, what's your dexterity? No, let's roll again.
-5.
I got a 9.
I got a 19.
All right, so
Okay,
it's
interesting.
Michael, then Spencer, then me. Michael, what's your pitch?
My pitch is Steampunk Serenade.
Steampunk Serenade.
I like the alliteration.
Exactly. I think steampunk fantasy is a really cool thing. I don't know if it's overdone. I don't see steampunk fantasy a whole lot.
It was
Little niche.
overdone. It was overdone like 15 years ago, and now we've overcorrected so much that other than the new D20 season, Cloudward Ho, there's not too much of it kicking around.
Yeah, I think it fills in a fun niche. And with steampunk, like sounds are such a big thing in steampunk. I feel like that it just goes well.
All right, Spencer, you're number 2. Go up.
Was that the whole pitch, or was there more to it, Michael?
All right, that's all I got.
Hell yeah. Okay. My pitch, I don't have a fun name for it. I'm so sorry to our viewers for that. It is, the idea is sort of surrounding grave robbing. It would all take place in a big cemetery. You would be going through like an interconnected tunnel system of all the graves. And at the end, you'd probably fight a big necromancer. Maybe the mounds with the tombstones would be like one big shambling mound type beast of necrotic magics. But that's my pitch. It's all encapsulated in one big graveyard.
Fun.
Very fun, very strong theming. Was the Nito the Grave Lord or something from Dark Souls 1? Big vibes, big vibes. All right, I'm going to hit you with mine. Mine is a full sentence. I also do not have a title. The final boss is a souped-up T-Rex.
Okay. Interesting.
That's what I'm coming with. Is the final boss is a souped-up T-Rex. So,
what makes this souped up? I'm just quite curious. Does
like
he have big arms?
like a T-Rex, but either of a higher challenge rating or with machine parts in him. And I don't really. I'm gonna just one more. It's the final boss is a souped up T-Rex. Is what I actually
Can
have
I
on my notes in
say-
front of me.
My first visual was from those like 2006 Photoshop challenges where it's like the T-Rex has big lasers on his shoulder and he's roaring and there's like sharks jumping up behind him. That was what went in my head right away.
So that's a movie where it's like T-Rexes with lasers and guns and like Hitler's riding on them. That's a movie.
So do we want to lean into the Hitler thing?
We
for
can't-
the bad guy.
We can't bring up Kung Fury and then just try to have a normal rest of our session. I don't know. I was imagining it one of two ways. Either way, number one, it is a T-Rex that is in some way mechanically souped up, or number two, it is a Magic the Gathering T-Rex commander. Like, it's just got some shit going on. Sun's
Yes,
avatar
trample.
is at the end of its name. You're like, yeah, for sure, I guess. All right, so our 3 options are Steampunk Serenade, Cemetery Grave Robbing, and the final boss is a souped up T-Rex.
so you combine all three.
Do we want to try to take a steampunk ship to a giant cemetery with a souped-up T-Rex as its final boss? Is that...
The souped-up T-Rex brings you to the location, reveals himself as the villain. I say let's do rollies. Let's roll. Well, not rollies, but we'll roll 1d6, and then we'll each pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Okay, who wants what numbers?
I'll take 5, 6.
I'll take 1, 4.
I'll take 2, 3. What happened? All right, one second. So I'm 2, 3. Michael's 1, 4. Spencer's 5, 6.
Well, it changed up a little bit.
Spencer, roll that beautiful D6.
5, baby. Yes, sir.
All right.
Bang.
We're entering into the creepy zone. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the creepy zone. I'm gonna have to change the music for a legally defensible
Creepy
version of the
zone.
Twilight Zone sort of theme.
It's actually friendly skeletons. It's not creepy.
Yeah, there's
That's
no
the twist.
combat.
Jigs.
There's no combat.
The
in Space
living.
Force.
You guys are all skeletons, and the living are the bad guys.
There
That's
we
sort of the pitch
go.
we're gonna go with.
Just truly revolting. Too good. Oh, there was a recent somebody did that for something for one of the Adventure Zone live shows. I think they played vampires and they were hunting a monster and the monster was a guy. I think I don't remember what the
I Am Legend
details
type
were.
shit.
I know. Yeah, I think there you go. Some real I Am Legend shit. All right. So there is so we need to the first thing we need to do is place our characters, in my mind, on the villainometer, because they are a bunch of grave robbers. So we need to sort of figure out how we feel about that. So we have our grave robbers. And we have our giant cemetery. So we need to do one of two things. We either need to decide if the characters are bad guys or not, and that is going to affect the cemetery and necromancer construction, I would say, in several huge paradigm shifting ways. So are they going to a cemetery to solve a problem and grave robbing is the solution and they have to, or are they a pack of dirty nasty boys here to take the treasures of those who have gone by in a sort
Dirty
of...
Nasty Boys is way funnier, and I feel like so many groups are like, I want an evil campaign, and it's almost impossible to play. So giving them the framework within they can play out that fantasy might be fun.
Now,
if I can add a little to make it even more nasty boy,
hugely depends on what you say.
This is a royal graveyard, a royal citadel's graveyard area. They're trying to get like the sword of the last king.
See, but it's real easy. See, this is where we get into the interesting spot, though, where they're grave robbers, they're nasty boys. I'm in. But now my question is, we need to define our necromancer and define our cemetery, just so we have an idea of what we're getting into. Because we could very easily, right, make this the 100 hallowed halls of Valnero, where the great lich lords of the last age slumber forever beneath the earth, in which case, hey man, rob away, these dudes suck. And the necromancer there is, hey, piteous vizier, defender of the lich lords. And it's like, yeah, for sure, fuck that guy. He's a CR 18, go beat the brakes off him or whatever. Or is it, are we digging up King Arthur to get Excalibur out of his tomb?
Instead of necromancers, it's clerics.
Yeah, in which case our
the
necromancer is the Death Watcher of Chrysul.
It could be. I think that we're digging up King Arthur to get Excalibur. That's my take. But beyond that, I could see two factions also being here in this moment, which is the Death Watcher, who's the king's hired hand to help out, and group 2, or 3 I suppose, including your group, would be another group of opportunists who saw the opening at the king's ball is being hosted, so this is the perfect time to break in. And they also showed up to steal Excalibur. So you guys are sort of going toe-to-toe while the Death Warden is watching, making sure nothing goes wrong.
So do you actually want to do like an enemy party situation. So we could do this a couple of different ways, right? So we could say that this is a lower level adventure, and that if the Grave Lord sees you, you're toast. And the real threat is there is a NPC party that you are in direct conflict with. And that gives us almost like a Blades in the Dark. You're both gnarly boys.
Yes.
I kind of like the image of there's something with this. There's a scene in a movie where like a bunch of two different groups are trying to break into the same building and they can't alert the guards, so they take out knives and fight each other to the death in like silence because
that'd be a cool fight.
Because whoever lives is going to be the one to get to rob them, right? Are we going full bad guy adventure? That's the question. Because here's the thing. Is it a bad guy adventure or is it a breaking the law adventure? We need to decide this at the start. Because if it's a breaking the law adventure, then we need the Sword of the King. He has been buried with it. It will remain, but we must use it to slay the blah, 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 right? Or is it, so he had a shiny sword in his picture. One of our guys. We get into the opening scene and it's like, trying to get this. And he points to a tapestry with a gleaming, sun-bound blade. He's like, he's buried with it. And that's it. And the whole thing is, I can sell this for many.
I think that the most good you can get is like chaotic neutral in this campaign. The alignment that is the most good is chaotic neutral. Beyond that, you got to be lawful evil, lawful neutral, or chaotic neutral, etc.
So let's crack in. We need a dungeon. We need we need some monsters. We need our magic item. I don't think we can get it literally at the end, right? Oh no, we've done that before. It's what you get for finishing it. So what level are we doing this? Are you, if we're pulling Excalibur out of this dead king's tomb as an evil party to go do evil machinations, are we level 10, 15, and there's centurion guardians of stone and steel wandering the graveyard and terrible traps and all kinds of things, and that's why we're digging through the earth to try to avoid them while this other also very deadly party goes up against it? Or are we Scrib in the Bibs, a level 3 adventuring party that's like, I heard there's a magic sword?
My vote is for level 11. I gotta take a phone call quick, sorry.
Really? I was going to say level 6. Level 6 gives you a lot of the party tricks of a class without getting to the point where you're like, I walk through the wall and I get there. There's less accounting for at level 11.
But if we're making an adventure for the level 6 crew, we're striking a little bit of an odd balance, right? That means we're in tier 2, but we haven't been there for long, right? We're just sort of getting our feet wet. So the sword can't actually be like the unblinking blade of the sun or whatever the hell. It's going to be a little bit more mild than that.
Mm-hmm.
It also means the defenses of the Grand Cemetery aren't going to be wild, right? Unless you actually wanted it to be subterranean the entire time, in which case maybe the bit is above you is the actual defenses for this place that are impassable, but you're just a bunch of tunneling dudes who have been who have dug your way into, what do they call it? Into the catacombs beneath, fall through the wall, and you just don't need to deal with any of the real defenses.
Yeah. What you're dealing with, I think, once you're below, is like the last safeguards, whatever the enemy crew is cooked up. And if there's like the cleric in charge of the crypt, those are the problems you're dealing with. It's mostly that. And then you're hearing explosions up top from, defenses you don't have to worry about.
Okay, so then we're kind of stuck between level 6 and level 11. So it seems like we have some logistical concerns with level 11. We're afraid that people are just going to clairvoyance Misty Step through a lot of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
What level do you get this stuff? I thought that was early.
It is.
Like,
It's about knowing the location to go to that's higher.
yes.
At level 11, you can do stuff that we can't path around consistently. It'll just be like, I plane shift past this area, and then I walk through this area next to it, and I find a trapdoor, and I go. It's like, okay, so the adventure's over. Level 6, there's some messing around. But
Well,
it's
a lot of that is, I do have to say, a lot of that is pretty well accounted for. You just need to say, like, it's just, there's a planar binding on the entire cemetery. It's hollowed, and you can't teleport in or out. There's a gnat in here, and I'm gonna kill him.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Is the royal graveyard? They could have some
But
anti-transportation stuff.
on the flip side, from a purchasing standpoint, like a marketing standpoint, level 6 is low enough that most people have played characters at that level. Level 11 is high enough that a lot of people have not gotten that high. So buying the adventure and quick starting this path at 6 is easier. As a DM and as a player, I would be more willing to purchase a level 6 adventure than a level 11 for a one-shot.
I guess,
That's
the
my
other tough
marketing
thing
brain.
is any one-shot where you try to start high level means you're trying to learn 900 abilities.
That's what
in
I mean. It's like,
13
okay, here's your
seconds.
63 spells. Like, no! That's why I like level 6.
Okay. So if we want to kick things off here at level 6, and we want this competing party, I have just one more quest. So the competing party, and then wait a minute, and then magic relic in a tomb. I like that. Is our goal, so whenever you want to encounter a competing party in Dungeons and Dragons, you have a couple of logistical concerns that pop up. Number one, how involved are they? Because it's going to be tough to involve them more than once without them all dying.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to need to be very narrative driven, or we will be seeing them mostly through, are they setting traps for us? Are they ahead of the party when they start, and that's part of the pressure, and so they're having to deal with like the traps and nonsense that they leave behind? Or do we want to say like, hey, here are the 4 points that these parties will encounter each other. The enemy party is going to run away. If they die, they die. If they die, then the next time they should run into them, they don't. That's all that happens. That's the two big ways to handle it. Way number one is we see them through their influence on the world. We see them once at the beginning, and then we see traps and all this kind of nonsense. It almost seems like we build them up as villains in the player's mind by having them just be so annoying that they're like, why the fuck would they set another trap? Why? They could just get there. There's nothing to gain from, that means they stopped, set a bunch of traps, and then kept doing their heist. Versus number 2, where it's like, when you break into the mausoleum at location 4C, the wall on the opposite side will open, and the two parties will face off. The other party will run away when they feel like they are losing. And then in room 9D, the same thing happens, assuming they are not dead. In 12A, and we just sort of keep going on.
Let me hit you with this pitch. Sort of a Tower of Power situation. You are going toe-to-toe against a, lawful good party of heroes.
Oh, I was imagining
also
2 schmucks.
I was thinking that at first, too, but I think it's funny if they're, Mr. Paladin good guy who's trying to get the sword to do the good thing. You're trying to get the sword to do the bad thing, which is, whatever. We decide that later. In each room that we have a trigger set for hero, they leave behind 2 to 3 members that you have to fight to get past it. So in the first 3 rooms, it's traps set by Trapmaker Regilius. And then when you get to room 4, Trapmaker Regilius is setting up a bear trap, and you're like, you! And then you have to fight Trapmaker Regilius. And then you get to the next area, it's Sanctified Ground. You find the cleric 2 rooms later.
So
that's what I'm picturing.
You're picturing a series of solo monsters, each of which is going to be so that means is this a one shot, or is this a dungeon that we assume they will be in for an amount of time?
I don't know. We make one shots most of the time, but it's fun to make it sort of a bigger dungeon.
We've conflated it with one shots a lot of the time just because it's a
Yeah.
dungeon. We assume it will only take one session, but
And
certainly
it never does.
normally dungeons, you're supposed to be in a dungeon for quite a while when you get
At
in
least
one.
3 sessions. Yeah.
Especially in Dungeons and Dragons, which I hate to break it to everybody, no matter what you think, remains a dungeon crawling war game. You can try to do whatever you want with it, but there's a reason that all of a sudden you get down into a mine and you're like, the rules suddenly account for everything that's happening.
perfect
What the
sense.
hell?
Here, I do have to go for like 5 to 10 minutes. I will be back.
We're gonna change
Absolutely.
everything.
I know.
Official prediction. 17 minutes.
Oh, I know where he's going. It's gonna be at least 15, maybe 20.
All right, I'll put down our respective guesses. We putting any money on this? You guys want to bet a magic card? Hey, chat, you want to bet a booster? Come on, let's get in here.
So, little aside for chat here. My uncle was talking about his old Magic collection, which was insane, by the way. He had like all the alpha cards. It was crazy. But he sold it when he was in 7th grade for $350, which in 7th grade for him, I'm sure went down real smooth. But now was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So mistake made. He said that they'd like set up their games and they would set one card from the deck, they'd pull it out blind and they'd set it on the table and they'd play for pink slips in the games.
Did you know there are some original Magic cards that involve the ante for losing and having to give up a card? There's a card where you get to draw a couple of additional cards, but you have to put up another ante card.
Oh, that's so funny. That's
That is
crazy.
really
So anyway,
funny.
RIP to my uncle and having sold those cards for so little back then, but it is fun.
So, do we like the idea that the competing party are a series of solo monsters, in which case this dungeon, we're going to be in this dungeon for at least a few sessions, or do you encounter them in groups of 2, 3?
I think you can encounter them in groups of 2, but I do like somebody's screaming outside. I do think I like the idea of it being a big ass dungeon. So I think that their group is like 10 members strong. So it's still like 5 encounters.
Deeply funny for you to be having in a combat encounter with West March's campaign.
Yeah, exactly.
So, are these guys in addition to the undead, or are we... They must be, right?
Yo, there are also a bunch of zombies and skeletons running around the area. Sometimes you find them slain, sometimes they're still there, sometimes there's treasure already taken, sometimes it's not.
Yeah, I don't hate the idea that there's only like 3 or 5, and that you encounter them. You encounter. Honestly, there being 3, and they are just a huge pain in the ass. I kind of like the idea that you encounter them and undead, and the undead are hostile to everybody. Is a really fun thing to do. It's just a cool way to do it. As a DM, to be like, no, you're fighting each other and all of these things. And that's something you just kind of need to deal with. I actually kind of like that.
I think it's fun. I just want Trapmaster Helio to be like such a fun find, because you're like, finally we don't have to worry about these damn traps anymore. We can kill this guy and be free of it.
So is he number 1 or number 2 in your head then? Do we want to really let them get mad at this dude?
I think number 2. I certainly wouldn't sacrifice my Trapmaster in the first room.
Okay, so we have a trap maker, and a paladin or cleric.
Yeah.
If it's
Typical
somebody who
good
wants
guy.
to wield this weapon, we should probably have it be a paladin. And then who's our third? If we
I
have
would do a wizard for
Yeah.
illusory terrain alone.
So we have a trap maker, a wizard, and a paladin that you are going to be encountering alongside countless undead in this grand cemetery / catacombs. And then for that catacombs, we have, the defender. I can't decide if I like that better as a cleric who watches over the place, that you are trying to avoid full on nemesis style, the thing that just follows you, or if I want it to be a 12-foot tall iron golem. They're both good. I like the vibe that you and the other party are both running from this thing, and I can't decide if it's more fun if it is a high level character that you are dodging, or if it is a mindless automaton whose melee attacks do 4d8 damage, and so you're just running.
I'll be right back. Sorry. Go ahead and put us on a 5-minute pause.
Okay, all right, guys, welcome to the Solo DM Writers Room. It's your boy. So the reason that I have that question about whether the next thing that we should do is have a single kind of construct or have a cleric or some kind of spellcaster, there's an element of dogged pursuit to the construct that's really interesting. Sorry, we're waiting while the others run to get some stuff. So if you're trying to have the party feel like they're constantly being pursued, if it's a single, almost mindless construct, there's a lot of benefits. It's really easy to outmaneuver the construct. It's very easy to lose its trail, and it's great to justify it leaving you alone. You get away from it, and whatever sensory ability it has is just really limited. Whereas if it is a spellcaster or somebody, we get the benefit of them having a lot of character. They can be this righteous guardian or, nefarious necromancer that is caring for the cemetery. The problem becomes we're getting a lot more flavor, we're getting something more interesting, but they're going to follow the party. They're smart enough to know where they went. So it makes it a little bit of a more difficult swap between the two. My personal preference would probably be to go with that construct, wandering after them, because it would give them a lot more opportunity to kind of target it at the enemy combatants that they've been talking about, right? Trying to make sure that they can kind of interact with it in a way that makes it feel like part of the terrain way more than it's kind of part of any encounter where they're supposed to stop and fight this thing, especially if it's something that's supposed to be kind of unkillable. So I'm leaning a little bit in the construct direction. And I kind of like the idea that its appearances are pretty rare. You can sort of tie it to failed stealth checks and things. And the other big benefit of that is you can then put in some mechanics to make the other party fail some checks. What's up? I talked to chat about why we would debate between these two options and gave them the rundown. I'll give you the quick 2-minute version of it. So the benefit of the construct is it's mindless, so you can trick it. It can be basically just part of the environment. You can lead it. Anytime you fail a stealth check, we can say it shows up, but you can try to get the other team to fail stealth checks. If we have a kind of cleric or necromancer, it's cool because you have a lot of character, you can give them a voice, they're a little bit more involved. The problem is they would follow the party. They would chase them.
Yeah,
they wouldn't
you're not
leave.
gonna get away.
Whereas with the construct, you can take 3 turns really quick, sit there, hide. And the DM doesn't feel like they're stretching reality to be like, and the construct wanders away to some other part of the catacombs. That was my argument to the chat of the future there.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, and I do think construct. Mostly because I like the idea of bringing the construct to one of the fights and it killing,
leading
the
it
wizard
on
or whatever
purpose
while you
is
run off.
really funny.
Yeah. But I think that I would put in the book, the party can do this one time. The construct gets wise after that. They can't bring it to every fight. They get one go on that, and then it doesn't work anymore.
I like that it would be kind of difficult to mechanize, but I really love the idea that it sounds like we're talking about something kind of the size of a small module a little bit, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about a construct that learns, and I think that's very funny. The first time they encounter it, it doesn't know who's a spellcaster and who's not. It's very fun to leave for the DM as a note. Write down, notice everything that happens in the first fight. The construct will remember who can do what and what they do and what their tactics are. And so each time you encounter the construct, it gets much harder to fight, because after the first encounter, it's going to start focusing spellcasters. After the second encounter, it's going to start focusing spellcasters, and you can say, the construct has advantage on any saving throw against a spell that has already been used on it, and you can kind of start to stack some weirdness to have this like adapting kind of construct. That's a little fun.
And then by the end of the game, it being like the phase 2 final boss after defeating Paladin McGoodguy, this thing shows up and it's crazy strong and adaptable and knows all of your movesets. You defeat that, then you can get Excalibur. It's fun. Instead of giving Paladin McGoodguy a phase 2.
Yeah, and I think there's a really fun option to have it. You can use Excalibur in the fight against it. Is kind of the clear. Yeah. That's kind of what has to happen, right? Because otherwise,
the Paladin has Excalibur. You kill the Paladin. You get Excalibur. Now you can use it in the second phase fight.
So then, if we're imagining how we sort of enter this dungeon, how do we engage with it? Are we opening in? I like an in media res module open where it's like, how do we open? A dirt wall collapses into the catacombs. You fall through the sewers into it finally after having dug for like 2 hours to get in. You are surrounded by nothing but shadows and bones. What do you do? Or do we like the idea of turning back time a little bit and they need to find a way into the catacombs as a part of the adventure?
I think I would best of both worlds it. A lot of DMs have a hard time getting their players on board with an adventure path. So I would open with the wood collapses, the dust kicks up, and then they walk through and you see the party. Then the DM rewinds time. They're all at a tavern. They're looking at a bounty board, whatever. And now introduce your characters. You're going to talk to this barkeep who has information for you on the event that's going on. All of you need to find a way to get your asses into this situation. It already happened. We're sort of doing a Blades in the Dark bit here.
Oh, so it's kind of, so it's not mechanics. It's not like a skill challenge. It's everybody tell me your part of the plan.
You're role playing in. We're not, beating around the bush here. You're doing it. Tell me how you got here, what your character's about, if you know each other. That's all being established in the next, this RP session, because we're doing a full module. And then we can make a couple of interesting NPCs that they can talk to, people who have some intel, people that they can interact with throughout, the intro sections.
Are you imagining that there's rolling involved, or is it just narrative?
I think that there could be rolling involved for, getting more information, more intel. The groundskeeper says that there's a two-pronged path that you can follow, and in the left path, there's a treasure in the catacombs. So you get stuff like that.
Okay. So there's bonuses to be gained, but there's no negatives. There's no detraction. It's just, rolls are a fun bonus. Okay. So now we get a little bit into how much are we looking to make like a mega dungeon? Or do we want there to be a little bit more of a feeling of an adventure, right? Because if we're going for pure dungeon, then I'm going to start asking you, what's the puzzle in the first room? What kind of traps are we encountering? If we want it to be a little bit more like an adventure, my question becomes, how do they not lose? The answer to how do they not lose because the other party is ahead of them is it's a game, and that's not what the module says for you to do, right? Yeah. You got the quantum ogre. It's in whatever door you open, right? My question would be like, why do we need to be here? Why are the catacombs so large, and what do we need to do? Is finding the right place to go part of the adventure? I think it's like a place where we're moving around and we want to be able to interact with stuff, and maybe there's friendly undead and things to do, Then I think it's, you need to find out, they built, when the king died, they wanted to keep his blade safe, so they built 5 tombs, and you must find the clues to figure out which tomb is the true one, right? That's fun. Or it's, you are in the tomb of the king, and get ready. We're gonna put out a map, and we turned Fog of War on in roll 20. All right, on my turn, I go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and you're just full, like, dungeon map slowly moving through.
I think more of an adventure path. They made 5 tombs. You have to find the clues, and you can figure out which path is right. Or you can brute force it and really mega dungeon it, but that'd be stupid.
Okay, so if we kick things off at the entrance... and we know that we're going to the tomb. We're trying to find, the Tomb of the King or whatever. And maybe the part of the difficulty is just that you're starting from below. It would be super easy if you could pop your head above ground and you could look for where the sarcophagus, for where the where the giant thing is. But you're underground and you need to stay there expeditiously. Do you need to stay there, right? You have no sense of direction. Yeah. You're just doing what you've got. So what comes after the entrance? You break in. What are we looking at? Do we have many hallways and warrens that scurry in all different directions? Or are we breaking into some kind of underground city or something? I'm imagining maybe in this world, do the dead walk always? Do 100% of the dead walk in this world? And so beneath every cemetery, is it like, I'm trying to think of is it, ancient Egyptian practice where you leave the treasured items of that person so that they can use them? Or is it a warren and there are undead there and it's kind of scary in a very different way?
I think that I have an idea on both ends. If it's that the dead walk, I would make it like the royalty know that they're dead walk, and that's why they're armed. That's why some of them are friendly and some of them are just assholes, because that's just who they are. But I am more tempted to say it's more of a Warren's situation, and the ground is just unsanctified. For whatever reason, it lost the sanctity that it had before. So now the undead rise all the time. Some of them are more intelligent than others, so you can interact with them, but most of them are just zombies and skeletons. A lot of them wearing finery and covered around by jewels and stuff, because that's just what they do.
Okay. So now we need to have some kind of like branching in the path right at the beginning then?
Yeah.
What are some of the areas that we want to explore? What would make this to you feel like a big, crazy romp through the cemetery? What are the things you're looking for there? James, sneaking in here. I've been teaching evening classes and just wanted to say hi, James. I've been watching and leaving comments in your previous week's videos. We've been looking. Got to get back.
We've been looking. We've been reading them.
Hell yeah, James. We've been looking back. I see you. I see you, James.
Uh-huh. Thanks for stopping by. I think that, in my mind, I do like the 5 kings tombs thing, but instead we can do eras of the kingdom. Sort of like dynasties in our world. So there would be sections of these warrens and underground sanctuaries that are different. This era is marked by flowing water that rushes through the areas to clean out the location. This one is marked by opulence, and this one is marked by their militaristic attitude. Stuff like that. So there's differentiation between the areas, and the king could be buried in any one of them. It would be like where the king felt he belonged would be in one of those zones from the dynasties.
Interesting. Okay, so if we're talking about... So let's get a little bit of the mechanics down for that. I like that. So we have different dynasties. A dynasty is, an unbroken sequence of lineage where there is a nice even, or an even-ish. I know. Some historian is shaking their fist right now. There's a at least relatively unbroken path through the throne. So it's like, blank, son of blank, daughter of blank, daughter of blank, son of blank, daughter of blank. that would put them separated by kind of generations, and that puts us back not by generations, but like multiple generations. So my question is, why is this king able to be buried in, my guess for the time for Michael was wrong. Why is this king able to be buried wherever he wants? Was he not a part of any of these dynasties? Is he the first king of a new dynasty and seeking to hide his treasure? Would tell no one where he was to be buried or whatever?
That's exactly right. I think that it's just there haven't been enough generations yet to warrant an expansion on the crypts. So you choose who you relate to. And that's the clues you have to find.
That sucks.
Who
That
would
means
this king go
that means
to?
we're like digging up old good King Gondrick. That means we're really like we suck.
Yeah,
That is so funny. All right, so first of a new dynasty, hidden among the others. All right, well then I think that rules. What is the oldest? What defines the oldest, the senior-most dynasty, the first to rule these lands?
I think number one is the militaristic one. You have to be a conqueror to unify a land. And that's this group. That's the first section. They were just an iron fist.
Okay, so they forged the empire. They forged the empire, ruled as. I'm gonna. They might have been well-loved tyrants, but they ruled as tyrants.
They were tyrants.
For sure. Forged the empire, ruled as tyrants. Military might. All right. And now, Generation 2, Gen 2.
Gen 2, my first thought is like opulence.
Oh, yeah, so we build up the empire, and then Gen 2 jumps... That's so funny to jump right to the end of the... really jumping to end of Rome nonsense.
Yeah.
So the second is kind of a opulent, sort of Baroque... Right, lots of light, lots of gold. I think there's going to be a lot of like, oh, this tomb, it's lit by the light of the sun, reflected through mirrors into the crystal chandeliers. And it's like, damn, for real?
We didn't need all that.
So the other thing I like here, so Generation 1, I think, obviously goes the way of Alexander the Great, right? Some jackass leading a campaign who doesn't have any sons dies. The empire is shattered briefly, and somehow, and the person who takes the lead is an economic powerhouse who just buys out the throne. Then it all becomes
merchant class.
It all becomes like opulence and luxury. So between Gen 2 and Gen 3, I only see two options. Did we have a French Revolution, or did a dragon eat the king?
I'm picturing a French Revolution-esque situation, but it's more of like a religious overthrow. So this is where we get into like zealotry. It's groups that are like hyper-focused on divine nature and what you should and shouldn't do.
So I'm going to write God King. And then my second, I'm writing ascetic rule. I think this is like simple stone benches. Plain. I think a lot of it is you walk in and you see that dug in impacted dirt. So like the dirt has been dug out and impacted. And bodies have just been laying on the dirt and are now skeletons. And it's like, yes, this is how all men ought to be.
Oh, and the like bit of opulence you can find is just like massive platinum statues of the gods that this kingdom claimed to follow in each section. It's like you can't do anything with it. You're not hauling it out of here. That's where they spend all their money. There's not like, ooh, a golden chandelier. It's like, no, that 18,000 pound statue is sort of all of the wealth we have.
That's pretty fun. And if somebody wants to try to pull some enlarged reduce shenanigans, you can be like, hell yeah, man, in 10 minutes, that's going to stop being a little paperweight. So just be ready for that.
Go up? You want to go upstairs?
You want to run up? You want to run up quick? You want to run back?
See what happens?
You want to run back? So then, if this like God King ascetic rule, I'm gonna write just like great works. So what defines Gen 4? Why did that line dies out for one reason or another, right? Maybe too much devotion, maybe a rival god or something. They anger another god by so heavily favoring that one. There's famine and whatever. Something happens to that guy. What comes to prominence after that? Is this like a free love? My first impulse is because a highly religious society is going to be like highly strict and structured. Is what comes next, free love, man. We can all listen. Life's a journey, man, is my first thought. In a close second is, do you know what religious ascetics are bad at keeping off? The next conqueror who comes along and is like,
get wiped out.
Wait. So you won't fight me because your god told you not to fight? Cut his head off. Like, oh no, they're fighting us.
Win.
They don't care at all that we have the moral upper ground. Like instant problems.
I think that it's another war society, but this one's just way more well equipped than the first generation, 1,000 years ago. So you've upgraded to a level of like combat tactics that you weren't experiencing in Room 1, which is the first warlike society.
So not as much the like ruled as tyrants military might, but a kind of a cunning. Oh, so then I'm going to say it's not an outside force. What made the Fourth Dynasty come about was an internal coup.
Yeah.
The Master at Arms.
People are like, we can't keep doing this.
Held a coup, knocked it out in a tight 18 hours, and was seated on the throne before anybody really knew the difference. So it's military cunning, it's strategy. I like that. And I think I think the items you find here, I think there are some magic items there, and they are utility driven. It is. We had one a very long time ago that I really recommend. There's a lot of versions of the item where you get to like set up a doorway and it opens into a beautiful manor house and things like that in D&D. One of my favorites we did was a tent, like a general's tent that you could set up and step into. It was a campaign that ran for like 3 weeks, and you were playing a great tactician who was like aspiring to become one, and you got a tent that a general's tent that when you set it up was ludicrously capacious and had a map of the world
and a bunch of armaments and stuff, so I could arm people with spears and stuff. It was so cool.
And so then what makes the fifth? And so this was the last one. So this one has died out quite recently, right? So the king just died? The king died a few years ago? What happened there?
Probably the king died within a year.
Okay, so we have...
This year could mark the, like, remembrance ceremony, and that's why you have an opening.
Sorry, your internet got a little choppy there.
Yeah, I can see it going in and out.
So, in that case... that king's rule was, X number of years. Probably it shouldn't be super long. And then the fifth generation was immediately before that. So most people remember the fifth dynasty. What was their deal? How did they How did they take over from this cunning, measured, I have the hiccups, careful group?
I think this would be a period not of opulence, but of full-blown innovation. This is like, look at the wonders we can create with the society we have backing us. This like precise, pragmatic world that we've been living in, we can utilize it. So it's like scholars and inventors and stuff that have sort of ticked up here.
So it's mostly, because again we're sort of shooting the D&D angle here, it's mostly magic. This is a dynasty of profound magical expanse. I like that. I kind of like I think I want to go with the it's a very like late Rome thing. I kind of like the idea that the ending of the fourth dynasty was this cunning military king who might have been well liked, they might have been well hated, I don't know, who when they got to be, you know, in their 30s or 40s and people were like, oh, I wonder if they need to have a kid soon so that somebody else can, you know, be raised up enough to take over. They shocked the world by naming their court wizard their heir. You know, and the court wizard being, you know, this like 17-year-old phenom, this like incredible magical figure. And they are elected, and they are like, nope, that is the heir. I will be having no biological children. And everyone's like, fucking okay. And then the 5th dynasty tears through. They eventually finish off. And now, like, and they hand it off to... So what happens there? How does good King Kyrisis, or whatever, come to power?
I think that the thing about wizards... and people that are innovators, they're not really great at running things. And I think that they realize that pretty quick, where they're like, we're blowing our entire coffer on experimentation. We are choking ourselves on the lead we've been given. So it's putting that onus on somebody else to keep like the actual running of a kingdom, so they can do the experimentation and stuff that they want to do without just destroying the kingdom that they occupy.
So this is quite a grim opening to this king's rule, as being like kind of being chosen out of not even necessity, out of disinterest.
Yeah, disinterest, a lack of like ability. They're just like, we've been really screwing stuff up for the last 150 years. We can't do it.
Michael, what were you going to say? Welcome to the chat.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be back. Sorry, it was a little longer than I expected it to be, but that's all right. You saw how like a wizard blows through everything experimentally. The first thought that comes to mind is like, the kingdom has like 30,000 diamonds of a great value, and the king's just, well, I burn these for these spells. I burn these for these spells. Great.
Exactly. It's like, we can't do that. So, Ethan, if you want to do a recap, this is a good moment for Michael and the audience.
Yeah. So we talked it out a little bit, just a smidge. We decided that you start in media res in the catacombs. You then each get an opportunity basically to describe how we got there, and if you want to attach some roles to it, you can get additional benefits, but there's nothing to be lost in doing that. You have a sort of moving threat in the form of the Defender, this grand construct that you can easily get away from if you can pull off some stealth maneuvers, and that you can kind of weaponize against the competing party of 3. Those 3 being a Trapmaker, a Wizard, and then finally a Paladin. Then we were talking about what we wanted the catacombs to look like, and we decided that there had been 5 great dynasties, and that this king who had just died was the first member of the 6th. And because he wanted to hide whatever the artifact is, he was buried in one of the other 5 dynasties, and no one knows which he was buried with. And so you as a party are navigating and trying to find out where they were buried so that you can locate the item. The first dynasty is the one that forged the kingdom. They ruled as tyrants with military might. The second, very opulent, lots of gold, lots of luxury. The third, taking over after that, very religious, kind of a god king. They threw off the last ones for being so opulent. They ruled in bare ascetic style. A military coup overtook them. The 4th dynasty is an age of cunning and strategy. And then the final ruler of that military period sees the writing on the wall, sees that magic is the future, and has no sons or daughters, and names an heir in the form of the court wizard, who then rules a small dynasty, the dynasty that follows. And now we're trying to end that dynasty and introduce our good king character. this is where I get the smallest of kerfuffles, which is no one in the entire history of the entire world has ever said, we're doing a bad job at being a dynasty, we're going to give it up to somebody else, take our huge sums of incredible money and power, please, we're not doing good with it. So
now hear me out.
There needs to be either one dude who is the most zen-centered, it's like the last king or queen of the age of sorcery, meditated for 4 hours every morning, went through ego death at age 9, and at age 53 was like, we have failed. Or the public story is, they knew that they had been mishandling things and named a successor. And what we don't see is a series of silent court-martial trials where they are like lowered in the pecking order.
Here's what I'm thinking. This dynasty had to end somehow, and this king needs to be hiding an item. I think that the wizards created what amounts to like a nuclear bomb of some sort, where it's like, oh no, that wiped out a huge power structure, the creation of this item. Then they're like, we need to go before we're killed by our own people. They take off. The king comes in, the new one, who's like, you know, some nobility. He comes in, he's like, oh, what's going on? Oh, this is what happened? And then has to be like the bearer of this terrible magic. And then when he dies, he's like, I'm going to hide it in a place that nobody can find it. It'll be well defended. It'll be in one of these locations that nobody can ever find it. Lo and behold, your evil group is going to find this magic item and try and use it for evil purposes. So the good king was brought in by necessity of the wizards all dying and then fleeing the country upon realizing what they had done.
I like the idea that, you know, the grand court all get together, they channel this great artifact, believing that they are about to conquer the world in a single stroke by making, I don't know, the Blade of Names. If you name someone aloud and cut through the air, it hits them wherever they are or whatever. They, not realizing that they are all sacrificing their lives to make it, the king comes in and sees this grand wizard's tower with just piles of dust in all of the archmages' thrones, and he's like, and there's just a glinting sword slowly rotating in the center of the room, and he's like, all right, so safe to assume this went bad. He opens the doors to the dormitory in time to see one of the students throwing a rope ladder made out of blankets out the window, turns around, sees him, and starts climbing out the window, and it's like, oh no. It's so funny to be abandoned by your rulership, to be truly, it's like, yeah, we went in the castle, and it's empty.
Yeah.
What does that mean? There's no one in it.
I guess I'm king now?
Okay. What poor asshole touched the sword first? It's them. Okay.
Sorry, the magic, that is super cool sword. The first idea that I had when it was like nuclear bomb option that fits in D&D, but be so bad to have something that causes like permanent polymorph.
Oh, you're a lamb.
You're a worm.
There's a
You're a worm.
There's a scroll in Dungeons and Dragons that just summons a Tarask. There's
You know what?
You gotta love that shit.
Yeah,
What I was
that'd be
picturing is
scary.
a sword that you can spend your hit points to deal that amount of damage to the person you're attacking, but you can't recover that via magic. Like, it's necrotic damage. So if you're like, I'm going to use 75 HP, empower my strike to do 75 damage, it's like, okay, hope it worked. I'm
down, but it needs to be multiplicative, because if not, what you've described is not an atomic bomb. It's a pretty bad gun.
No. It's not good. It's not good for this this campaign, but when I was thinking of cool swords, that popped into my head. I don't think that should be what we're doing here at all. Okay. So,
yeah,
we've got the arrows, we've got the idea that the king has a magic item from the last era.
Now it's time to begin everybody's favorite DM Writers Room game show. It's Name That King. We need to name the king. We need to name the king. The king needs a name. We need to name him early. Or queen. Or I don't know the non-binary term for a lord ruler.
Evens is women,
Lord.
odds is men. It is a 20. That is an even.
So female.
Yep. This is a female ruler. The queen.
I learned something today, and this is deeply embarrassing, and I'm going to admit it on live anyways, and maybe somebody else will be able to admit this, because I learned it for the first time today. I never knew... I knew that some people liked to say women, or woman, and I knew some people liked to say female, and I knew that some people thought that saying female was weird and gross, and I looked it up because I was like, why is that a thing? Woman specifically refers to a female human. Female is not specific
Any species.
to species, and so that's why
interesting.
the terms are used have preference. And I was like,
And what did I say?
we vacillated wildly in the conversation
I said
we had
both.
just now.
Hell yeah.
I was just like, today I was like, why do people use that interchangeably? And I found out there is a huge difference. One of them is
That's cool.
But that means that a female elf is not a woman.
It's a female.
There is some
You know
other
what?
word for that.
I'm gonna admit something right now too, and it's that I have read several romantasy novels, like ACOTAR and stuff, and every time that there's a fae involved, they call them male or female, like, oh, he's a strong male. And I always was like, what a dumb thing to write. I guess I'm the asshole for thinking that.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, no, I was like,
Linguistics matters.
just an
Shout out
odd.
Sarah J. Maas. You were right, and I was wrong.
That's crazy. Yeah, I got into that today, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. So, name that queen?
Palestria.
Halestria's good. Halestria's
It's already
great.
done.
First
Try, Michael, you did it.
Everybody
Awesome.
here is watching as I slowly infect Spencer and Michael with the fantasy name generator that is rattling around in every DM's brain. It's just kicking around back there. And then the problem you come up with is then anytime you try to come up with a name, it's going to be a little bit a fantasy name. Like, you're never going to be able
My
to be like...
daughter, Palestria.
Yeah,
What?
if you're gonna be
Wait.
writing a random email trying to give an example, and for the names instead of John, you're gonna be like, yes, of course, Quincy and Von Darien. People's gonna be like, whoa, back it
I don't
entirely.
care about the. Yeah, I don't care
This
about
is
the
an
math
aside.
problem. Why is his name Lavendish?
Ethan already knows this, but I don't know if Michael does, and I know chat doesn't. In grad school, I was going to school for like Shakespearean literature, and I was writing like a 20-page essay, and I wrote the word afeared.
No.
I was afeared that, or don't be afeared about. I don't remember the exact circumstance. You can't write that in modern script, just putting that out there. So it is a very similar situation as, like, Percival.
Everybody, roll a d10. Let's figure out how long Queen Halestria managed to rule for.
There it is.
3.
9.
Oh, I rolled a d6.
Whoopsie.
You said d10, my bad.
Spencer is furiously looking for a d10.
5.
10.
10. Whoa, a 24-year rule?
It's pretty big. This sword is really good, guys.
For a historical ruler, 24 years? That's a good run.
And the first of the line, no momentum behind you. That's crazy.
That's really strong. Let's look up. I'm gonna just really quickly look up how long that is. Is that like a really long time? Please talk
In my
about
mind-
something while I do this. Come on.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Sorry.
talk. In my mind, it is not very long when you are Henry V. When you're Henry the First, that's notably long. Because
Mhm.
times of like upheaval, rebellion, loss of power, that vacuum, that's where you're pushing it like 5 years if you're lucky before you get killed and a new guy jumps in, and then maybe he has a son and he can take over. But first of your name type stuff, that is a notably long time.
I think that means that the Wizards did a really shitty job, and Palestra is doing an insanely good job. And
That's I think that's where we can go back to what I was saying before, where it was like the Wizards were just emptying the banks, overtaxing people to get reagents.
So
So
the
that's where
answer
that sort of comes in.
Spencer kind of nailed it in early. So we can give some examples from England. Earlier in the monarchy, the average is 12 and a half years. After things start to consolidate, it becomes 22.375 years.
Yeah.
And then up to now, when it is as stable as it ever gets, it is 22.55 years, with the current queen, with the queen who just died being a huge outlier skewing those stats.
Fair.
So a 24-year rule is serious business. That means Queen Halestria held that shit down for a hot minute before dying of old age, murder, replaced.
Is that something you would discover through your adventures? Would like some of
Mystery?
the friendly whites you speak about be like, I heard the old king was assassinated, and you're like, oh wow, like, is that something that we could work on?
I guess my question would be, is it okay when you unattune from the sword when you die? Is that a problem? Because it's like, because if that's the case, then I don't think they waited until they died of old age and then somebody moved the nuke sword down here. I think on their 90th birthday, they were like, it has been enough time, and laid down in the stone and drank a tincture of hemlock and joined their ancestors. Whereas if it's like, no, you just need no one else to sit with the sword in their hands for a full hour while people watch, then we can say, yeah, they died of old age, they buried him with a sword, they followed their wishes, blah, blah, blah. The first one's cooler.
I think it'd be fun. The first one's cooler. I think it's fun if the king stabbed herself, or queen stabbed herself with the sword as the last act, and then was buried with the sword.
Sealed by blood.
Well, I don't think nobody knows where she is, so she wasn't there. She went to this location.
Yeah.
and
Oh, that's so
you're going to
funny. Yeah,
find
so true.
her.
Yeah, you can't talk to a servant like the barrier.
Oh, you know what's
There's
really
her.
funny? Is the good guy version of this quest is so heroic. You're like following the tracks of the queen that gave all, like making your way through the catacombs, going through history, and then at the end, a bunch of grave robbers with daggers show up, kill the good guy party, take the sword, and leave. That is really funny. Okay,
So fun.
now it is time for the most important. Somebody needs to roll to determine where they are.
All right, so
So
we got
We have 5 options.
4.
So in theory, it would be 1d10. 1 and 2 is 1. 3 and 4 is 2. 5 and 6 is 3. 7 and 8 is 4. And 9 and 10 is 5. Michael, what was your thought before Spencer rolled?
I think we could kind of do that. We could do this double-sided. We could have good player side, bad player side.
It would be
Uh,
funny to give them an option to run both sides of the encounter. To have them play one side first and then play the other side would be very fun.
Mm. So we could do it if we wanted.
Be tough, but doable. Spencer,
Yes.
roll that dice. Ba-da-da-da-da-da.
That's a 5.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
So group
6.
3.
So I think that actually makes a lot of sense. That is our aesthetic, bare bones, God King people. So I think
pretty
that's pretty sensible. Maybe they have some like legendary guardian that they thought would be particularly helpful.
The statues can be animated. Like, it can be some crazy stuff like that.
Yeah. what's the some guardian spell where you the
Spirit Guardians?
yes.
I mean, there's Spirit Guardians. There's the Faith one where it does damage equal to the amount of damage that's dealt to you or something.
Yeah.
Guardian of Faith.
I think
there's Spirit Guardians, Guardian of Faith, and then I do think there is another one.
yeah, either of those I think it'd be cool if like she casts that and that like the spirit's still there guarding her.
Oh, and then there's the late game combat breaker planar ally where you just go like a CR10 Deva helps me in this fight, and the DM's like, yeah, for sure, man. Let me throw out my whole thing. Let me figure this out. I was actually just thinking about this when that came up. Spencer, a while ago. Welcome to DM Writer's Room. It's a show where we talk about DMing and DM problems. Spencer and I have both run a fair share of games now. Spencer runs a tight cinematic game that I would recommend to anybody looking to get into that style. Give Prince of Charming a listen. He did a lot of edits, but that's the cinematic kind of sweep that you feel is all over Spencer's DMing. I run a much more like classic, here's a world map. Where do you go, adventurer? Very different angle. So it's always kind of good to get some of the thoughts out, and Michael gives us sort of the player angle. Spencer has a long-term gripe with systems that go like, and the DM can use one of the dark points to change the adventure to be for the worst.
I hate it.
And Spencer's thing is always, I can do that whenever I want.
That's what the DM does. I always give you bad situations.
And it occurs to me now as we're talking about the ability to summon a Deva, I wonder if what those game creators imagine in their head. I think what they picture is that in preparation for an adventure, you get out a sheet of crisp composition notebook paper and you design every encounter and the number of creatures and what is where and the traps and the plot holes and the important characters, and that you follow that no matter what. So when you get your dark side point, you get to be like, I add a kobold. Like, there is this odd thing, because I was thinking about Summon Deva, and how do you not adjust the combat? And it's like, the spells have taken that into account, man. Once you write the encounter down, if they summon a Celestial, you don't do shit. They just have a Celestial now. I don't know how I feel about that, but I think that's the answer. But what a weird answer.
It's the answer, and it goes back to TTRPGs as war games, where it's like, you got the troops out already, dog. Like, if you spend the dark side point, you can get more troops, but otherwise, it's done. I would never play a game like that, and that's why I didn't like Force and Destiny points.
It's a really odd little idiosyncrasy in the system there.
Yeah, from the player's perspective, it's like using a light side die, super cool, super fun. Yeah. And I think that when they were making it, they're looking at the player's point of view. And it's like, you using a dark side and me getting a light side is a cool mechanic.
I wish it was just, now there's a mechanical downside to doing it, where it's like, yeah, now you lose 10 HP, or you get disadvantage on your next 5 rolls, or whatever. Instead of me being like, and now there's 6 more stormtroopers. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think that was the perspective they were looking at, and again, from the player's perspective, it's very cool.
It's
very
badass.
Fun.
It's really cool.
Yeah, but from DM perspective, I fully get it. It's like, I just do that anyways. I don't have to spend that.
So, how do our merry band of adventurers solve this riddle? How do they find this? How do we imagine they are doing it? We gestured a few times to the thought that there might be some like friendly undead. Now, in D&D, I think friendly undead is a little bit of a is kind of can't be a thing, but we don't need to stick to that, right? That's, Forgotten Realms. That's pretty specific. So I don't think we need to necessarily stick with that, although it's one of the things that we could sort of build off of. Spencer, what's going on?
Noodle shoved herself under the bed, and then I was worried she was getting stuck, but she got out.
Noodle. So are there friendly or neutral undead down here? Are there other things that live in the catacombs, or is it full on like light a torch and move forward trying to, solve the 9 riddles or whatever the hell? Is it just explore? Is it, hey man, you got a bunch of stuff to do, keep poking around till you find it? Like,
I think if we're building this as an adventure path, the social aspect is sort of required, at least in my book. So having friendly undead, a la the White in Icewind Dale, or not the Ghost Kids in Curse of Strahd, the Ghost Kids if they're actually chill, I think is fine, as long as like 70% of what you encounter down there, at minimum, is an enemy and is just fucked up.
so to justify,
we say friendly.
go ahead.
Or we say friendly. We are playing evil campaign a little bit too, so they might not be friendly to friendly people, but you show your worth as a thief. It's like, oh
Yeah.
So the note I've just written down is I kind of like the idea we need to define something about undeath in this adventure then. So I've written kind of like echoes of the lost age is the thing in my head. I always like, and not everybody does this, in my games when I get to make the setting, undead are almost always like photocopies. They are the echo of the person. They're like the Wile E. Coyote dust cloud. They aren't the person. So like they don't have new thoughts. They don't develop new opinions or tastes. They are a shadow briefly cast on the wall. So I kind of really like, and I want to offer that as a direction for us to lean in, because we have had the transition from each dynasty to the next be violent. And so it gives us an opportunity to have factions down here that will be willing to hear the players out in a like General Tyrannus who seeks to conquer the Eastern Course. And the Eastern Course is that dirty tomb over there. But because they are sort of trapped, they are just this echo, they can't extract any other information. The other reason I like that is it helps me understand why nobody has dug up Grandpappy, because he's alive down there. He's moving and speaking and talking and thinking. We need to go get him. He is friendly. He can't be a friendly undead. He can be like a creepy shadow.
He can be
imprint.
sympathetic,
Yeah.
but not really consciously there.
So distant from it that the family members of that person would find no comfort in their presence. So it's like, no, leave them buried. We don't touch that. We don't mess with that. It's dark stuff. We don't bother. You're going to have this soulless encyclopedia walking around in your house. It sucks.
this would be such a good like school area. Like people will go to see how they were.
And I think you just don't get to control what sticks. If they were, the thing that might stick is that they were violent. That might be the thing that sticks. That might be the echo that is captured, is that they are brutally violent. Okay, so shadows of their past self.
I have to ask this question.
Go ahead.
Is the final fight a 3-phase fight where you fight the paladin, you fight the creature that walks the halls, the like construct, and then you fight the queen, or in some other order like that?
Mechanically, that's going to be really tough unless one of those is a walk in the park.
Yeah.
That's all. So like it's possible, but that would mean the party would need to long rest shortly before arriving. I know that this is like a little, some people are like, well, technically you can have 7 encounters. That's if you're having like 7 easy encounters over the course of a full 12-hour day with short rest and rations and magic items and nonsense. We're talking like 3 to 5 hard encounters. So if we're talking about stacking 3 solo encounters on each other, each of them needs to be hard enough that the creature doesn't just immediately die. So that's a full day of adventuring, pretty much right there, with maybe whatever the fight outside of the room is, and maybe one other if you want to be a real jackass about it. So that's my question. If we want to do like 3 phases, we can. It's just going to be brutal. I kind of like the phase 1, fight the paladin, get the sword, use the sword in phase 2 to kill the defender, and then you get to leave. Just because otherwise we are going to make a crazy powerful what is it? I can't buster sword, and then you're going to have to fight that sword 3 times.
Yeah.
I just at a certain point you're like, this isn't fucking worth it. Like, we're gonna TPK. Unless part of the fun is supposed to be, hey, you're playing the bad guys. The chances of a TPK at the end are high.
You shouldn't win. My thought was you don't fight the Buster Sword in this situation until the last section. So you walk up, you find the paladin about to open the tomb, he puts the sigils on, and it illuminates. You fight the paladin, you kill him, then the construct attacks you, you kill them, then the wall closes with all the sigils burning properly. Then you fight the queen with the sword. So you only fight one combat with the sword, but you don't get the sword for the second phase combat, which sucks.
A slight counter pitch. Phase 1, paladin and defender. Phase 2, the queen.
That makes sense.
Because I like it a little better if it's playing the paladin and the defender kind of off each other, trying to make sure that they aren't focusing on you. And then as they die, you all catch your breath just in time for, like, a bright glow to come from the room. And for this, like, powerful queen, the sword, like, just emerges from her chest and full, like, I have the power! Like, grabs over her head. And it's like, oh, fuck. That's whacked this. We should not have done this.
The idea of the paladin winning the construct over by, like, virtue is also really funny. For the last room where he's like, no, we're friends now. So now you have to fight both of us.
That would be very... He's like, I do this for this nation, for what must come next. And the construct nods knowingly and looks at you, and it's like, oh, we are the bad guys, aren't we? I forgot about that part. Shit.
Whoops.
All right.
I like that a lot.
Delusional factions. Final boss. Good gravy, people. And now if we wanted to go... So we could really do, like, a whole module of playing these delusional undead echoes against each other, trying to track a, 2-year dead trail as you make your way around, following weird hints and clues before eventually finding out the right place to go, all the while being harried by traps and illusory terrain and all kinds of bullshit from these other dudes, just to finally claw your way to the final boss fight, have to deal with this paladin and this construct, then fight the queen to be able to claim this sword. We have 4 minutes left. What does the thing do, and what's the thing? Is it a sword? Is it a staff? The wizards made it. If they made a sword, why? And why is it so cool and dangerous? Because it can't be you speak the name of a creature and slice the sword through the sky and they die. Because then the party dies on round 5. Or they kill the witch in the first 5 rounds. And D&D D&D fights can be a slog. Getting that done in 5 rounds might not happen, right?
It could be like a staff of exhaustion. It deals out exhaustion per round, or
just an absolute TPK machine, which I'm not opposed to. I think it's funny if the bad guy adventure ends with a almost certainly lethal encounter. I think that'll suck for the players though, because they'll be just as attached to their villains as anybody else. So we have the idea that maybe it is a staff made by the wizards that has some devastating effect, like just blasting exhaustion, stealing life force kind of deal.
Stealing levels. That's why
I was
most
gonna
people.
say we could do levels.
We can't do level drain. They took level drain out of the game because it was bad and no one liked it. They didn't. There's not a lot of D&D things that they did that I'm a huge fan of them getting rid of for no reason. Level drain deserved to die.
Or it could not be similar.
It can be a sword that can cleave mountains. I just need to know why the hell they made a sword.
I think it could be similar to the quivering palm thing of monks, where you get hit and then 24 hours later you die. So that's where you get hit by the staff, and it deals with a massive amount of damage. And if you survive it, then 24 hours later you die. It's incredibly powerful. They could use it as like a wide range spell to kill any enemy they needed to do it to. but it took a huge amount of necromantic magic. It killed like 70% of the wizard, hierarchy. And in so doing, they were like, we can't do this. And they left, leaving behind the crime. Then the king or queen got it and used it.
Or if we want to go the magical nuke route, and no one ever saw the queen use the item, then we could say, it is the staff of fathoms or whatever the hell, and it's the staff of the eternal void, and it's like, oh great, what does it do? So what we thought it would do is absorb the life force of all creatures in a 1 mile radius and channel it into whoever's wielding the staff. Wow, that's unbelievable. That's evil, but oh my god. Wait, you said you thought that's what it would do. Yeah. What does it do instead? Only the first part. What? It drains the life of all creatures in a mile. And it doesn't do anything else? It doesn't do anything else. That's all it does. It didn't work at all. It was so bad, right? It was supposed to be the great Lich Lord Karzug was going to use it and then bring us back as his great Death Knights. Instead, we all died, including Karzug. Ah, fuck. And so then the mechanic here is the queen also does not use it in the fight. And you're just like, what the fuck does this staff do? That in death, defending it, she's like, I cannot. Like, it must never be used.
I could see the queen using it because the queen is dead. It's just an echo. There's no life force there. So now it can be like 50 damage, 25 damage, 40 damage. But it can just pull life force.
Yeah, maybe it does something interpersonally, but she never uses it for the thing it's for.
Doesn't twist the top and shatter the crystal.
And I think that makes perfect sense and drives home our guys as the bad guys, because it's like, why doesn't she use it? It would kill everyone in a mile. You're under the capital city.
It's gonna kill everybody.
She doesn't want to do it because those are still her people, and you guys suck. And who knows what their machinations might be, right? It might not be to use it in the city anywhere. How would you? Whoever uses it dies.
It has to be like you plant it on somebody you know is stupid enough to use it, they press it, and then everybody dies. And like, great. And then you leave with it.
But so we've wandered pretty far in the staff direction. Do we want to do that? Do we want to go back to it's a big sword or whatever? Because how do you stab yourself through the chest with a staff?
Great point. I could see just the corpse like hard gripping it, like the desiccated hand gripping the staff, and that is the sign. This is all like withered away to nothing up to the chest, and they just used it on themselves. They pulled their life force into the staff.
Okay, all right. So and I'm just gonna write. I'm gonna write a name that will let me know in the future what it does. I'm just gonna write Staff of the Hungering Void.
There you go.
If you want even weirder, we can make it so like it's almost opposite. It's all the life force is drained from all everybody except for the arm. The arm is pretty still like tissue muscle.
It almost worked how we wanted it to work. It gets up to the shoulder. That's funny.
It is interesting. We'll chat it out. It's fun. It makes me go to some stupid places where I'm like, is there another hand above where her hand is
stuck on it?
Is the other hand still there? And it's like, no, the hand's immortal. Does the hand have will? Absolutely not. Does it have soul? No. Somebody made an immortal hand. Damn.
Yeah, picture it like a reliquary.
Can it move? Nope. Why? No brain on there. No soul in there. It's just a hand.
It's funny because that implies a certain amount of uses where it's like, once there's no more handholds.
Yeah, can you hold the hand?
You get 12 uses, 12 hands worths.
I think mine's a little too goofy, but I do like it's stupid in a way that I think might be a little bit fun. All right, so we've got the concept, we've got the dungeon layout, we've got the staff, we've got the backstory, we've got some boss fights. We would now need to sit down and start really charting out what all the encounters are. But this is a fun set of bones for a module, and this is enough to start running. This is enough to be like, we're gonna break through the wall. What happens next? And you get to just come up with this general character that they meet first, and then have them pitted against the wizards across the way, and all of these things. And all you need to do is have it so that when the military pushed in, when the first dynasty entered, who did they fight off? They fought off devotees that were already living here, and wizards of the woods, and druids that were doing things. So whenever they encounter any of the other dynasties, everyone's fighting everybody. And that's not including the ones that are just straight up ghouls that lost all of their senses. They are a shadow of the person's hunger or whatever. And it's like, oh, fuck, this blows. This is a bad...
They're just running around.
We did a bad job. All right. With that, I will say thank you now and in the future so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed listening to each of us. And then for a while, Spencer and I. And then for a couple of minutes, just me hashing it down with you. If you would like to steal this idea, do it in a home game and let us know how it was. Come back in the comments. I guess if you want to give that a whirl at some point in the future, that'll be funny. And somewhere in the next 2 to 20 years, you will see this as a purchasable module on DriveThruRPG and itch.io. So prepare yourself for some time in the decade that follows being able to pick this bad boy up. Who knows when? We're all still waiting on the adventure where the werewolves sacrifice a guy to dragons, the banana peel, the evil demon bananas that take over the druid grove. What are some others? The demon tree that's slowly being consumed by an eternal storm of blood. We've had a lot that have rattled around in DM Writer's Room in these classic days. Dozens
of them.
So with that, thank you all so much for watching. We will catch you on the next one. Peace out.